Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and today we're mostly back to normal and talking about what's happening in the outdoor industry. But before we get to that, be sure to come back to the Rock Fight Podcast Network tomorrow for a new episode of Open Container, hosted by the man with a 100% outdoor industry approval rating, Doug Schnitzbahn. Tomorrow's episode features a conversation with another outdoor industry legend, Teresa Baker. Follow Open Container on your favorite podcast app. On Wednesday here on the Rock Fight, you'll hear Shante Salabert for the last time until the end of July, or maybe early August, I can't remember. She and I will be hitting some topics to come out of the outdoor adventure community. And then on Friday, we'll have a conversation with a notable voice in the outdoor industry. It could be our second interview from GOA Connect, or it's possible that Stacy Bear will be making his Rock Fight debut to talk public lands. Stay tuned to find out. Stick around. We'll be right back. Okay, so I'm at my local outdoor shop and I see this hydration solution called Hydra Pack. Naturally, I assume it's for safely transporting a hydra. You know, the mythical beast regenerates heads, needs moisture. Makes sense, right? Turns out no, not even close. Hydra Pack isn't for monsters, it's for humans. Humans doing all kinds of cool stuff outside. Running, riding, climbing, through hiking, even just hiking, you name it. And it's not some glorified water bottle. We're talking about hydration experts who make a modular, reversible, PFAS-free hydration platform. We're talking high-flow bite valves, plug-and-play hose systems, collapsible, heat-resistant, ultra-durable TPU reservoirs that practically clean themselves. It's hydration tech so advanced, it might as well have been built for a mythical creature. I mean, did you know that over 90 of your favorite outdoor brands already think so? And they use Hydra Pack technology in their products. And get this, they even have a retirement program. Repack takes old bottles from any brand and gives them a second life. Circularity, no landfill, no dragon hoarding, and retailers, Hydra Pack is accepting new partners for their repack program, and this is something you definitely want to get on board with. So yeah, not a Hydra Pack, but the legendary Hydra Pack. Learn more at hydrapack.com. And hey, if you're wondering how Hydra Pack and the Rock Fight got together, well, it was because of our mutual friends at Darby Communications, because finding incredible solutions to get a message out there, that's just what Darby does. In the store aisles, a quiet revolution is happening. With Endeavor, frontline staff aren't just selling products, they're building trust, making connections, and turning browsers into loyal customers. Let's see how. He didn't know which brand he wanted, just that the trail ahead was rocky. But she knew, because she'd trained for this moment right on her phone. A quick conversation, a confident recommendation, and a perfect fit hiking boot later, he's ready for his trip. That's right, she's a shop floor hero! It may be lunchtime, but between sandwich bites, he learned about fog fighting tech and snow goggles. An hour later, that knowledge helped a customer pick the perfect pair and add a helmet too. Learning on the go, selling with certainty, adding value. Yup, he's a shop floor hero! Endeavor is a mobile-first platform that equips retail staff with training, incentives, and tools to boost sales and brand engagement. Brands gain insights, sell-through improves, while retail associates stay motivated. Ready to get started? Just head to endeavor.io, update your brand profile, and upload your dealer list to access the free features and, when you're ready, launch your first pay-as-you-go campaign. With flexible, scalable options, Endeavor turns everyday interactions into strategic wins. The result? Be a shop floor hero. Endeavor's here to stay. Shop floor hero. Sell-through is the way. Liz and Royal Robbins were known as American climbing royalty. Part of the first group of Yosemite-based climbers that would scale routes yet unclimbed, who would promote the ethic of clean climbing, and who, with a core group of startup brands, would serve as the foundation of our modern outdoor industry. From their very first pair of shorts that could boast a true climbing functionality, Royal Robbins has become synonymous with comfort, versatile wear for the modern adventurer. From Rock Craft Productions coming spring 2026 to a specialty store near you, Royal Robbins presents Being Royal Robbins. It's the story of how the Royal Robbins men's Desert Pucker became an icon and spawned the new Camino Pucker, And it's the story of how an innovative brand launched mosquito protection technology to keep you protected without the use of chemicals, and why the Salif hoodie is possibly the most unique hoodie in our outside world, and how you can experience this uniquely American story of adventure through the thoughtful clothing choices of Royal Robins. Available for streaming everywhere you find actual water-based tributaries. Being Royal Robins, because nature and adventure are good for the soul. All right, it's Monday, but we're recording on Friday, and I'm still tired from Switchback. How was everyone's flight home? And I'm here with Owen and Dave. That's all you get. I'm tired.
It was lovely. It was nice to be, in a central place where it was just like a 1.5 hour flight. And Nashville also is a nice airport, sports a lovely Delta Sky Club lounge. So yeah, it was great.
Nashville does have a nice airport.
It was a very nice airport. Yeah. Dave, how many days have you spent at home in the last 2.5 weeks?
Not a lot. Not a lot. But I had a relaxing flight home. I want to thank Alaska Airlines for delivering an on-time and early arrival and a tasty IPA.
Yeah, I didn't quite get that. We had I got out a little later than you guys, and we ran into a major line of storms, apparently, that was extending from the upper Midwest to the Gulf Coast, apparently.
Yeah.
We had to fly around him, which delayed, and I was connecting through Minneapolis. So that delayed me getting to there. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to miss my connection. Turns out, I didn't miss my connection because my connecting flight was coming in from New York, and instead of going right from New York to Minnesota, it too flew south and around all of those storms. So I didn't get home to about 2:45 Wednesday morning. So it was a long day.
All right.
Loving the sympathy. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Well, it's proportional to the enthusiasm of the intro.
Yeah, mean, there's really no better, podcast content than just a long bellyach about travel.
Just complaining about travel woes.
Everyone
wants that.
That is
followed by
great.
silence and dead air.
Right? Content.
Fine.
Nice.
I'll sympathize with myself.
There you go.
All right. So our top story today is presented by, your hub for ultralight gear, Garage Grown Gear. Head to garagegrowngear.com and check them out. And we tried on Friday to put the trade show conversation for this season anyway behind us, but there were actually a couple of newsworthy items that we need to touch on as we kick off today's episode. And the first of that being literally just a few hours after we recorded our instant reaction podcast that came out this past Friday. Go listen to it if you have not. Right after we recorded that, the dates and location of the 2026 edition of Switchback were announced. The dates are identical, June the 16th to the 18th, but the location's moving to New Orleans.
Nolans. It's Nolans, please.
Nolans. Excuse me.
Yes.
At least I didn't say New Orleans, right? That was
true.
better.
True. That would have been awful.
Well, Owen, I do want to ask you, was this the fastest honeymoon of all time? Like, are already the calls just like being made to the OIA and Switchback, you think?
I think it was actually a preemptive strike on their part, so that they could say, "Oh, actually, because there was the rumor of the open letter that was going to come out, and it's like, well, hey, sorry, open letter, it's already booked. We can't change it because if that would be my guess, right?
Right, just getting ahead of it,
getting ahead of it, so that you can kind of cut it off at the pass, and then maybe allow some time for further conversation. But yeah, they just wanted to get it out there.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about reading some of the coverage in SGB of Switchback and looking ahead, because the convention center in New Orleans is going to be quite a bit larger than the ones we were in Nashville. Because one category that we really haven't talked about, there was no paddling. There's no paddling at Switchback. And again, they mentioned that, in the SGB article that, more floor space needed to cover, water sports at the show. And perhaps this will allow for that. Dave, how important to the industry do you think it is to have those brands represented?
Well, look, I think they are part of the soul of the industry, frankly. It's kind of like, I miss the climbing walls and all of the climbing brands all lined up together in terms of the gauntlet of carabiners. But
the climbing section at Peak OR was probably the coolest section of the entire show, whether you climbed or not. Right?
I agree. Look, again, it's one of those, and we'll talk about this kind of even just the ROI of a show, and we're going to get into some of the OIA's kind of breakdown of the consumers. It's an inverse pyramid, right? I mean, we look at a pyramid from the top being the core and the bottom being the mainstream, and the widest opportunity financially is always that base of the pyramid. But when you flip that thing upside down, the core elements at the top become a foundational piece for the entire industry from a trend perspective, from an innovation perspective, right? And so it's like you can't separate the two, and paddling and climbing are always going to be nestled in that top of the pyramid piece. Smaller economics, but still an important influence to the industry. So I do think that's one of the things we can grow back into as Switchback and bring the paddlers back in the boat.
Also, when you flip it upside down, it becomes a pyramid scheme. You know,
I don't think you have to flip it to be a pyramid scheme. I think you can stay.
You calling
right
the outdoor
there.
industry a pyramid scheme?
I believe you did.
It would be interesting. I mean, you were right there on Lake Pontchartrain. Could there be some water activations and some other things? I mean, I don't think of Nolens as a excessively outdoor city. It's going to be a little sticky, I think, in June. But
I think it will be. So was Nashville, though. Not that we knew, because we were inside the thing.
Exactly. And what I like is that the convention center is much more integrated into downtown there, so there will be much more opportunity for that kind of go see some sights, have a dinner, offsite, this or that, and not as biodome-ish as the last one.
Well, and also not to bring down the mood, I've heard from a few different folks who attended OR, folks not named Lloyd Vogel. Apparently attendance was sparse. Let's just say it was a bit of a rough week in SLC, so when OR has also announced their 2026 dates, and they're going to be taking place the week after Switchback. I mean, do we, not to get too kind of weird with it here, but do we think they might take a big swing and move the show to August just in an attempt to compete?
I think it does have to be differentiated in some way. And certainly the date would be one form of differentiation. I think if that's not it, then there needs to be some other way, because it does seem like the quote unquote core outdoor brands have lined up with the OIA behind Switchback. And so what are the other ways? So if Switchback isn't going to take on paddle, let's say, maybe that's an area where OR leans in. Maybe it's bike. Maybe it's even more lifestyle, this whole casualization conversation, right? And really going hard after that. Maybe it's emerging brands or wider outdoor, like RV I guess you could do overlanding, but actually Emerald already owns the Overland Expo that's doing extremely well. So I don't think that they would try to muddy that water. So, but yeah, it needs to offer something different.
That's interesting. Is it like a magic of the outdoor?
Right. Potentially.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Can we call it trail magic?
I think they will nowadays. That was pretty good. No free creative suggestions here.
I'm just saying. Just kind of.
I will say the OIA should probably be taking a bigger victory lap here. I think, there was at least a couple of people I spoke to at brands who said that they jumped on board with Switchback when the OIA aligned. So I think that makes it a little bit more formidable, regardless of what the dates are, that anybody does. I did have a little exchange with Todd Frank from the Trailhouse this morning on LinkedIn, and I referenced that.
Not Trailhouse.
Excuse me, the Trailhead. Thank you. I'm thinking the Trailhouse. That was the one in Frederick, Maryland, I think. So apologies, but the that does seem like a bit of a more of an advantage having the OIA involved than maybe some people would have thought a year ago at this point. So
they were a key partner to OR, obviously, back in the day.
Right.
I'd be interested to understand what the financial relationship is with Switchback, because in the
pyramid scheme.
Pyramid scheme. Okay, good to know.
So Dave said.
No, I'm not. You're not throwing me under the bus for that, Colin. That was all you. All you.
The OR of old used to be the primary funding source for OIA. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works.
All right, well, that's it for real this time. No trade show talk until at least August, unless something, I guess, giant breaks between now and then, which would be unlikely. Anyway, Garage Door and Gear is partnering with Knowles on their biggest giveaway yet. I didn't know they had other giveaways, but apparently they did, and this is the biggest one. Enter now for a chance to be one of the 10 winners of ultralight gear totaling over $15,000 from dozens of the best ultralight brands. It's also a celebration of the return of Knowles lightweight backpacking courses this summer and in 2026. They run 7 to 14-day guided expeditions where you gain technical backpacking skills, leadership training, and wilderness medicine, all while traveling through the breathtaking Rocky Mountains. Enter the giveaway now through July 2nd for a chance to win some epic gear, and check out the courses from Knowles while you're at it. Head to garagegrowngear.com to check it all out. How about that?
Oh, 15,000. That's enough for at least like 2 square feet of dynamium. That's amazing.
That's what those titanium tent stakes we've heard about cost. And you get 3.
3.
All right, we're going to do a little lightning round. The Rock Fight lightning round is presented by the ultimate comfort of Lems footwear. Head to lemsshoes.com to learn more. And I want to touch on a couple of headlines that have come out over the last couple of weeks before we get to today's main story. The first one being, according to SGB, Moody's downgraded VF Corp due to its, quote, need for significant continued operational initiatives to support the turnaround of its Vans business. End quote. The agency went on to say, quote, while we view the transformation initiatives positively, the actions continue to be extensive and require a longer time frame than expected to return the Vans brand to profitable growth, end quote. Owen, what are the implications of this news for VF and, beyond, like for the industry beyond VF?
Yeah, I mean, I think the actual downgrade itself, the big downgrade was last fall when they were downgraded from investment grade to speculative grade, aka junk bonds. So that was tough, and this is just it's a little notch there. I wouldn't read too much into that, other than just that it just talks about the tough environment. I think that even the biggest brands in our industry are facing. The one thing I would say though is if you dig into the numbers a little bit more, actually North Face's more outdoor oriented brands are doing a little bit better. So like the North Face returned to growth last year. Timberland was up last year. Really, the anchors on this deal are Vans and Dickies. Those are the ones that are, and not really outdoorsy brands. I mean, yes, they are in some outdoor stores, but that's not what their core is about. So, I think it's more about that than anything.
Do you find is it a stretch or to say that there's a correlation between when we talk about things on the show about the exclusivity we talked about with the Lone Peak 9+ for Ultra and REI? Is there more pressure internally to kind of find things like that when certain parts of the portfolio are struggling?
Of course. I mean, sales cure a lot of ills, right? When you can grow, it's much more fun, I would say, to grow your way out of profitability issues than to cut your way out of profitability issues. And so, it's a bit of a rising tides scenario. So certainly, if you can drive some more sales, drive some more top line from each of the brands, that really does help.
All right. Well, we'll obviously be keeping close tabs on what happens at VF because a lot of things that happen at VF impacts the rest of the outdoor industry. Next story, Solo Brands. Back in the news, according to SGB, Solo Brands Incorporated, which is the parent of Solo Stove, Chubbies, Isle, and Oru, restructured Solo Brands' debts and has appointed John Larson as the permanent president and CEO. Owen, what's the kind of broader context and impact of this move at Solo Brands?
Well, I think this is actually great news because it does sound like this is going to allow them to hopefully avoid bankruptcy. They had going into this year, they had basically fully drawn down on their line of credit, kind of building a bit of a war chest of cash. And they had actually said, hey, it's likely we're going to break our banking covenants. And to those that don't know, those are sort of financial numbers that you have to hit in order to keep the loan. And when you break those covenants, they can actually call the loan. In other words, they can say, hey, we want all that money back right now. Which would have, more than likely put Solo Brands into bankruptcy, because they have over $400 million in debt. So what this basically does is it says, hey, listen, we're going to restructure everything to make it more affordable given your current cash flow, and to really give this thing a bit of a longer run. And banks don't do this charitably. Banks are not in the business of I mean, they try, and they're human, I think. But really
for today,
sure. But really what it says is that the banks are looking at the business and they think they have a better chance to recover more of their debt and interest payments if they keep the business going as a going concern versus running it through running it through a bankruptcy process. And I mean, I can see why. I mean, if you look at the numbers for solo brands, I mean, they did over 450 million in sales last year with a 57% gross margin. So, a little bit of restructuring of debt, a little bit of slashing of SG&A, you should be able to get to a point where that is a profitable business that can kick off cash to cover the interest and to cover the loans.
Do you think they heard that pack fire's coming? They're like, we got to get our house in order,
Absolutely.
Well, Wallenfels is on the case.
Yeah. Mike is OG outdoor. I mean, he is definitely a stalwart. It was great to see him at Switchback.
So do you think any of this, and I'm kind of kidding, but I'm also kind of not, do you think any of this plays into Chubby's poor booth at Switchback?
Totally. Believe me, in these sorts of scenarios, any kind of cash outlay is scrutinized. I'm guessing either they were too afraid to ask, or maybe they said, hey, like if you could spend like 20 grand, really have a cool booth. And they're like, no, you get basically a couple of rolling racks and a $10 Kinko's banner. That's what you get.
See what you can find in the sample closet and take that.
Yeah, and you can actually see it in the numbers. If you look at their Q1 results that came out, I think, fairly recently, but they slashed their SG&A by almost 20%, like almost $10 million they cut out of SG&A in Q1. So, yeah, money is tight.
Well,
yeah, we don't probably. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, maybe I think the booth is a indicative of a larger issue of not just the dollars you can spend to it, but treating Chubby's like Solo Stove or any of their other brands in the way they market it has hollowed out what made it great. Chubby's did not get to where it was because they had money. They got to there because their positioning was unique, their voice was unique, it was fun, right? And that just kind of. That's what they've lost. So maybe the financial problems wouldn't be so, rough if they continued to stoke the soul of the brands that they buy.
Well, and this is actually an interesting kind of thing to reflect on when we talk about like all the conversations around zombie brands and the grief we've given Marmot over the last year or so, and even like now the Marmot trying to come back. Because these are the moments, right, when these little things happen, and you take a brand like Chubby's, which was what Dave just described as real. I mean, like the pinnacle of cool 10 years ago. And now we're having these kinds of conversations and like, how does this play out over time? So I don't know. Pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I would be a little bit more worried if you were seeing the same thing on their consumer facing marketing. Hopefully they're not. And that they thought, well, this is just an industry get together. Who the hell cares? But obviously if you did have somebody that had more of a bigger brand mindset, I think they would have come up with a different solution or found a few more dollars to do something.
All right, today's Rock Fight Lightning Round is brought to you by Lem Shoes. Hit the trail or the town this summer in ultimate comfort with Lem Shoes. Whether you're hitting the trails and the Trailblazer or soaking up the sun in the Switchback sandal, every step feels effortless. Built for adventure and designed for downtime, Lems brings lightweight freedom to your summer escape. Whether you roam or relax, do it with shoes that move the way you do. Check out lemshoes.com and get shopping today. All right, today's main topic on the Rock Fight is presented by Oboz, the pride of Bozeman, Montana, who's also the Cupid to the outdoor world. This past week at the Outdoor Industry Association Trends presentation at Switchback Spring, which I apparently just can't stop saying it, even though I said I wasn't going to say it anymore. Switchback Spring. How many more times am I going to say it? Kelly Davis, the director of research for the OIA and former guest here on the Rock Fight, posited that outdoor retail's fixation on core participants was coming at the expense of welcoming more casual consumers. And this sort of dovetails into our conversation last week about REI going more casual as well. Are these dots, I just want to ask you guys, are these dots that kind of appear easy to connect, but if you peel them back a few layers, you find that this argument doesn't hold as much water as you might originally think? You kind of see where I'm going with that?
No, Colin. Can you tell us more?
Not really. Well, first of all, I just shout out to Kelly. Great presentation, lots of energy. I'm a numbers person, so I really respect another, data nerd up there, nerding it up about the numbers. So that was fun. I think there were some interesting insights, and I liked the fact that they took a different slice at things just to add more than just the amount that somebody participates in an activity, defining whether they were core versus non-core. And it was really more about, it was yes, it was frequency, but it was also their overall mindset and differentiating them that way. To me, what it comes down to, though, and I think that the danger here is that people go right to the casual part. They go ditch to ditch. So it's like, hey, we were all about the core, but oh shit, now we're going to focus on the casual. And it's more about no. We want to move from core to target active, the middle group there, because you've already got the core. You're not going to lose the core. You already have them, right? If you take all your branding and all your product and then move it to casual, I think you lose the active people and probably the core. Whereas if you focus on active, that's an easier step up for casual and it doesn't piss off the core, would be my take.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at here is, the one thing she said during her presentation is like, these are people that should be shopping in your stores. And I kind of look at it as like, well, the assortment at most, outdoor shops are already sort of set up to serve casual customers. Like, and so given the state of active apparel, the casual consumer is not underserved and maybe more likely to be waiting for like the Nike Skims, sub-brand to launch versus looking to go shopping in a specialty outdoor store.
It also depends on what you define as casual, because I think as Kelly was talking about it, it was more around these were people who were just getting into the outdoors, and it's not casual as in I'm buying something just to lay on my couch and lounge around the house. It's still somebody who wants to do outdoor activity, but they're not super active and super into it. They're more like on the on-ramp. I think where it gets dangerous is when you start to say, oh, casual means casual apparel, i.e. stuff that isn't related in any way to the activities that are core to our industry. And that's, I think, where you can really kind of get off the rails.
Does it count if you move your couch outside?
Yes, it does. That is an outdoor activity. Yes.
Thank you.
But I guess that's kind of what I mean. When she says these are people who should be shopping in your stores, I'm picturing a sort of real core outdoor shop, right? That has like a climbing wall with like cams and carabiners and kayaks and things like that. And I'm picturing the sort of early to or just the casual consumer. They might be fine just going to like the Lululemon, brand store and getting some stuff to go out and be active in. And I just feel like that's what I'm saying about dots that are easy to connect, right? It's like easy to say, hey, you should be luring this part of the consumer base into your shop. And that's why I'd also argue that most of those kinds of even hardcore stores are set up already to serve that consumer if they should find their way into those stores. But there's just so many options between the internet and like a Lulu store or an Arc'teryx store or a Nike store or whatever to kind of serve those people. I don't know. It just kind of feels like, I would love to sell them things if they want to come into my little hardcore gear shop. But it's not like, I don't really know if I should be, how much more should I be working as a gear shop owner to try and go capture that segment of the market?
To me, it was more about some of the comments that Kelly made around how some, and not all, but some outdoor gear shop or gear shop employees look down on the casual user, right? And the whole I think she was noob and then gaper. I hadn't heard gaper. Had you heard gaper before? That's a
not
term.
Outside of the porn industry.
Oh dear God. Anyway, moving on from that. But okay. Anyway,
Dave's not even laughing. This is not fair. Come on, that was funny.
But no, the point being, like if you are, first of all, you're right. There's plenty of different opportunities. Like if you're a casual person, you could go into Dick's Sporting Goods, right? Like from a casual perspective, they have a lot of this product. They have a lot of athleisure stuff there. They have outdoor or outdoorsy product there as well. And so, but you're not going to get probably a lot of help from somebody that knows much about the outdoors or how to get started in trail running.
Or anyone if you're in Dick's Sporting Goods.
Okay. Fair. I mean, they can get you the size 9. But
yes, exactly.
So then it becomes a question of, as a consumer, would you rather do that and try and kind of figure it out because the assortment is there? Or would you rather go into your local outdoor store, which also has the assortment and has people who hopefully can help, but if they make you feel like a bit of a noob or someone that just
a noob, yeah.
If they make
right.
you feel like a noob, then you're like, you know what? I'd actually just rather go and kind of go to Dick's Sporting Goods. So that to me is like the challenge.
I feel that. I also think like that's a tough thing to overcome as well, right? Think about who does work at an outdoor specialty shop, right? It's the river guide who's like off the river, or it's the dirtbag climber who's like shows up to like apply for the job in their stained Patagonia baggies and chacos. That fits the identity, and I think like I would hate to give that up. Like when I want to go get really good coffee, I want the angry barista who's like all tatted up and has like face piercings and like does not want to give me the time of day because I walk in I'm like, oh, this shit's gonna be good. Like please be mean to me. And bike shops the same thing, right? They get that reputation of like the angry wrench at the bike shop. And I mean, these are kind of extreme archetypes, but so again, I'm not saying that those people shouldn't welcome somebody in to buy a pair of like tights to go hiking around in. But I just feel like, I don't know. I think it's kind of it seems like just an easy dot to connect to say, oh, you should be welcoming these people into your stores. I'm like, why do we assume that they're already not being welcomed in, I don't know. It just feels like an odd sort of thing to like, kind of in the face of our conversation last week about REI. It's like, are we marketing ourselves as casual, or are we just set up to accept the casuals who come in?
One thing I would say is that more than likely the people that work in an outdoor specialty store are going to be part of core. It's just the nature of the beast because
Right.
one of the big reasons why you work in outdoor retail is just to get the EP, right?
Get the discount.
Get
Yeah,
this
right.
gear discount, right? So
Yeah.
So it's less of a value prop to work, for whatever minimum wage is in your state. If you're not into that. So that's one part. I would say, like, if I go back to my days at Moose Jaw, we specifically hired for personality. Like, you didn't have to have any retail experience. If you love the outdoors and loved sharing that with other people in an engaging way, we would hire you. We can teach you how to run a POS, right? That's not a core skill, but it's hard to teach people to be fun and engaging. Quite frankly, it's either kind of part of who they are or not. So that was a key thing. And I used to actually get pretty much every piece of feedback for the store I would read. Every piece. And there was nothing that had got me more pissed off when somebody sent feedback that said, I went in the store and there were 3 retail associates and they were all just kind of crowded up behind the cash wrap, just talking to, just chatting to themselves and barely acknowledged me. I'm like, that was like DEFCON 9. My director of retail, he would see one of the, because he would get them as well. He'd see one of those come across.
Like, oh,
and
no.
he's like, oh, fuck. Oh.
It's going to be a long day.
Yeah, right. Because I would want to know, okay, Nick, who was my director, I said, Nick, okay, you know the drill. I want to know when this was. I want to know.
I know you have the schedules, Nick.
I know you have the schedule. I want to know who was on the schedule, what was going on, right? And if that was an assistant manager, like, okay, we need to talk to them. If that was a GM, like a store general manager, oh wow, bad things were happening.
Yeah, it's the retail equivalent of like what we were complaining about last week of like the guy sitting at the sales rep at the trade show table.
Totally. It's like, why
are you here?
Why are you here? Right.
Why are you here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I get, there's busy work that you have to do, et cetera, in the store to keep it looking good and doing all the things. And we would ship a ton of product out of our store. So that was all good, but you have to understand the priority, right? That isn't an excuse.
Yeah, I do wonder if this is also related, this kind of conversation on the casual, is to just the overabundance of stuff that we're making and how readily it is available. I don't know, just because it is, and isn't it always sort of what we've always wanted in terms of more and more people sort of coming in, and the amount. Okay, if you're saying that the core is declining, but by how much, and is that sort of a fluid number that's going to like ebb and flow over the years? But really, ultimately, we still just want more people engaging in sort of going outside casually, even because it's a healthier lifestyle, and that's kind of what we all should be driving towards. So.
But let me just say, if you throw a party and you don't send out invitations, no one's going to come to your party. To me, this is an assortment of this assortment's not an issue. It's that what outreach do these shops do in the first place? They don't outreach to the core, let alone people that would fall outside of that. And so if there's a real desire to want to reach a new customer, you're going to have to do the work to bring them and give them a reason to come that is not just about the items, because of course they can get those items anywhere else. You just said that.
Right.
And
this goes back to our experiential marketing conversation a few months ago.
Right. And I would even push back a little bit a sense about the the non-welcoming aspect. Sure, that's an outlier, but I found this industry to be the opposite of that, to be very welcoming to new people, rather to be out on the trail or on the river or in the stores. If you've got questions, people love to answer them and to kind of guide you into a positive experience. And I mean, anecdotally, that was my experience into this industry, and it came from paddlers as we connected back. Know nothing about kayaking or anything, and you come upon folks, and they are immediately, hey, come on over. Would you like to try? I can show you how to do it. Like taking time out of their day, and it created a profound impact in terms of my kind of impression of the industry and the people involved in it. It makes you want to do more. And I see that, you see some of those conversations in the store as well. So, I would like to talk more about maybe what's the brand responsibility into this discussion versus the retail piece. Because look, at the end of the day, the retailer's going to buy 6 versions of blue, brown, and gray, right? So we know what you're going to get there. So what are the brands doing to be more inclusive from a casual, and is that always, like you said, that lurching from one side to the other? That's kind of the thing I took from that. I liked the way they broke down the categorizations and her conclusion that happy at the end of the day is what's being sold. I'm a big believer of that, and that's influenced the way I've marketed brands forever.
Yeah.
Right?
That was
go ahead.
Oh, that was a big driver with Moose Jaw, right? I mean, that was the whole Moose Jaw shtick, right? Was that outdoors should be fun, and that wasn't the case, when Moose Jaw was kind of growing up in the mid 2000s. I think though there's a difference between, let's say, moving your marketing from, misery marketing, on the side of the mountain, right, to people all together having fun around a campfire or hiking together or what have you, to and this is where I'm afraid we're going, we're going to have brands doing pictures of their stuff at the bar or around the barbecue at home, where somebody's got a glass of wine, and so it's like, and yeah, sure, do people wear outdoor apparel and stuff to do those things, or sitting at home on the couch with their hokas up on an ottoman or whatever? 1,000,000% they do that. But should that be the core of how we're going to market brands in the outdoors? God, I hope not.
Well, I would even say that, you've got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Like, it is not one or the other. It's all of these. And actually, a good marketing mix will be able to touch on all of these different experiences that you have with the brand in an authentic way. And if we go from one to the other, the exclusion of the other, that's where you're going to get in trouble. That's the classic bind that you spent. At the end of the day, outdoor brands are performance brands. Right? They are, in a sense, like an athletic brand. And so you have to stoke that that perception and that foundation that is our stuff is good for high level sports activities, engagements, and you've got to continually stoke that engine. And if you get away from it to turn to a casual, you're going to lose that authenticity and legitimacy, and you will erode. And that's the danger of always playing into that trend of lifestyle. You go back to the 70s. That's what crushed Adidas. They had a massive, huge. They were the Nike before Nike, right? But they followed and chased the trends that were and athleisure, right? And Nike moved in with a more performance messaging and help kind of create the industry that would follow along, still grabbing that lifestyle opportunity. And that's just one example, but that's the danger, the dark side of like chasing and like lurching around. And I think going back to what we were talking about earlier with VF and Vans, I think Vans' issue is that they've forgotten that they're an actual performance brand. That all this art and lifestyle is awesome, and it's a part of the culture, and you want to lean into it. When we were there, we brought the Warped Tour on as an example of that, and really as a soundtrack expression of what the brand was. But at the same time, we doubled down on skateboarding and snowboarding and surfing and BMX and paid athletes more and made sure they got their images and their images out there. I mean, it's really important that you've got to be able to do both at the same time and recognize that performance fuels lifestyle. And that's just the way it goes.
I think you guys helped me kind of get to what my sort of, the thing I'm kind of struggling with here. And it's because outdoor retail, I feel like, probably just has a general marketing problem. because, and I'm going to blow some smoke up your ass, Owen, because like the last time I remember seeing marketing by a retailer that was interesting was probably Moose Jaw. You guys were a little irreverent. You're doing fun things, and it stood out in all the right ways. And I'm painting with a broad brush. I'm sure somebody's going to hear this, and their shop does an incredible job of all the things that we're talking about.
You're awful, Colin. You're awful.
I really am. But I mean, I think about even the stuff you see from the big guys, the REIs and the Dicks, all the way down. I mean, I follow a fair amount of outdoor retailers on Instagram because just, for the show and things like that. And it's, some people do some interesting things. Or they put little fun, reels up or whatever, but it's not, it doesn't really it doesn't make a value proposition about why somebody should shop there. And there's a way you could easily craft a campaign that is like, hey, you can come get the most hardcore shit here that you could ever want to use in the outdoors. But also, hey, you person who just wants a pair of Vuari like shorts to go to yoga, we could serve you too. And like, where is the messaging? And there isn't any messaging from a lot of these folks.
Colin, it's a tofu sailboat sailing on a sea of vanilla. It is just as boring as can be.
Could it be? Is it tempura tofu?
That would be too spicy. This is just
no. I think that's kind of. I think because that kind of speaks to what I'm getting at here, right? Because Kelly's not wrong, and frankly, we're overdue to have Kelly back on the show. We need to bring her back on soon. But it's right now you just got to look at it and like think of my local shop, which feels like a gear shop, but like and anything that posts on Instagram is either we're hiring or hey, look at this climber out in Joshua Tree. Right. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But like I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of them of like hearing Kelly's advice of like what would they do? And they have all the stuff that she's talking about.
Totally. Well, yeah. And I actually had this, I gave a presentation at Grassroots and it was on how specialty outdoor stores can really compete against the big guys. But one of the big ones was social media that I looked at probably 50 different stores, Grassroots stores, social media accounts, and it's just right. It was to your point. It's like we're having a sale, we're hiring, maybe we're having an event, but it's like your social media. You should be the outdoor hub for your town, right? Anything outdoorsy that's happening, you should be talking about it and welcoming people in, and just really just people should be thinking, if I've got anything outdoorsy going on, I should be letting the outdoor stores know. And then likewise, if I'm interested in the outdoors at all, even as a casual user, whatever, I want to be subscribed to that feed because they are the hub of what's happening.
Dave, I'm going to tee you up. You ready?
Yeah.
If I'm an independent shop owner, Dave, should I treat my shop like it's its own brand?
Wow, Colin, that's a tough, insightful question that let me look at. You are your own brand, right? And so you definitely got to treat that.
But who does that, though? That's kind of the point, to Owen's point, right?
But there are some that do, for sure.
The Mountaineer, probably the Mountaineer is a great one.
It's not just it's not just retail. This is the same conversation we had about like TikTok and how like Nara is crushing it on TikTok and they have more followers than a lot of big brands because they have figured out how to kind of apply that for their brand, and all these other brands who have tons of money are sort of like just wandering in the wilderness of social media.
Well, to that point, as a local retailer, they can get focused again on the sale and the item, and there is a place for that. But like we're just kind of getting at, what's your argument? What's your reasoning for me to come to the store in the first place? Right. What is the vibe that you're selling, the experience? If, you can talk directly to new people, right? And reassure them to come in and learn something, feel something, enjoy yourself. You can talk to the core, right? Going deeper, getting the things that that you're looking for. There's just, social media is great because it allows you to target this wide 360-degree circumference that is the brand personality and is the archetypes of people you're trying to talk to. That's the beauty of it. And I think if we stop looking so much about an item and about a discount and a sale, we start talking about why I want to be here in the first place, an emotional reason, not just a rational reason. And that's where you start to see success.
And we're saying something's maybe it sounds like we're saying something's easy when it's not.
No,
like this is
hard.
But there are more resources than ever to kind of whether it's SEO or maybe there's a little marketing campaign, maybe it's a brand kind of getting your understanding what the value is of your store and how do you communicate that outward to attract more people in.
It's just time and money, Colin. I mean, what's the problem?
It's just time and money, everybody.
Right.
I think the other thing that I think some retail stores and brands actually make the mistake of thinking is, oh, I've got to spend all this money producing all this high end advertising and video and all this other stuff in order to power my social media. I need a graphic designer. I need a videographer. Like, no. You need a phone. That's what you need: a phone and a human, and maybe a product, right? And actually, one of the great ways to break down some of those barriers to casual folks is just doing really straightforward social. Take some of your store associates, have them goof around, have them talk about their favorite product. Just be people in social media, because that's what social media is. And if you look like you're endemic to the platform and just doing stuff and using whatever the editor is and whatever the captioning is that's in, TikTok or that's in Instagram Reels, just use that and don't worry about being overproduced or not professional, quote unquote. Just get it out there.
And the brands need to help, to you guys' point as well, right? I mean, Owen, we talked about it last week about the brand we saw at GOA with doing exactly what you just described, of like the glass of wine with the like super soft tagline at the bottom of it. And it's like, is that what you think is going to help get the casuals into these people's stores who are coming to meet with you at this show? Like, wrong way to go here, guys. And so, I mean, I guess that's ultimately what I was kind of bristling at or having a tough time kind of sort of connecting is, if I'm sitting in the audience hearing this, what do I do with that information? Right. And say, hey, you should be having these people shop in your stores. I'm like, well, I'm not opposed to it. Right. Like, come shop at my store. But how do you kind of get from point A to point B? And I think we just did that.
It's wine in an Nalgene bottle. You've got it right there.
That would have been better than what we saw. That actually would have been more authentic to the space if it had been a Nalgene bottle. All right, today's episode of The Rock Fight was presented by Oboes, who wants to share their love of hiking, and we want to help them by uncovering all the different reasons we love to take the long walk, including the following, because getting into hiking, it means you get to buy a headlamp. Ooh. Who doesn't love a headlamp?
Especially one that's voice activated and that blinds you when you're in the middle of a podcast.
It's right here. I'm afraid to use it
I love that.
Since that time with Shante.
That's awesome.
No. Number 2, you get to say we crushed it without a PowerPoint involved. Number 3, you learn that nature is both majestic and low-key is trying to kill you. And number 4, hiking means the Bridger boot collection. The Bridger Ridge is here to help you smooth out the rough trails in front of you with enhanced stability and protection. The Bridger Ridge is Oboes' first boot with Gore-Tex. So bring on the smiles and the miles in the Bridger Ridge. And if you find yourself in or near Townsend, Massachusetts, be sure to stop into Evans on the Common to pick up your very own pair of Bridger Ridges, and then head north for 30 minutes to break those puppies in on Pack Monadnock. And this hiking appreciation moment is brought to you by Oboes of Bozeman, Montana, certified B Corp, 6 million tree planter, and inhabitant of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Oboes is the maker of premium quality footwear and the Cupid to the outdoor world. Oboes. Love hiking. It's time for a party shot. All right, for the parting shot today, we're going to do a little outdoor industry quiz. So I'm going to read Owen and Dave an outdoor industry news story, and you guys have to tell me what year you think that this news story came out.
Oh, great.
Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some fun at Merrill's expense at Switchback, and we're going to do it again right now. All right, here we go. So here it is.
Sorry, Merrill.
I have to share a state with
the
these
headline
people.
is headline is changes in attitude. And it's just a little blurb. It says, spend a day at Merrill, as one of our reporters did recently, and it's evident there is a new attitude in light of recent changes. It's obvious the brakes have been put on the expansion, and the focus is on getting back to Merrill's roots. SKUs have been trimmed by 50%. The spring model lineup is small and specific. The focus is on day hiking, backpacking, technical sandals, and an interesting new approach to footwear. There's a tangible feeling that the Merrill team from top to bottom is enthused about this new direction and is more attuned to the needs of specialty retail. Gentlemen, what year was this story written?
Well, obviously this is an amazing one because it could have been written probably actually yesterday, but more like I would say like when Chris Hufnagel first came into CEO roles, maybe 2 years ago, I would say it would have been perfect.
Yeah, you're right. When there was a recent leadership change or something like that, right? Yeah, exactly. Yes.
But obviously, that's not how we're going to play the game here.
It could be.
But I'm going to go with 2012.
2012. Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you have a month? Do you have a guess on month? Because if maybe you get the month right, you get partial credit.
March.
March 2012 from Owen. Dave, do you have an opinion? Do you have a guess?
I'm going to go 1998.
Give him a month?
No, of course not. And in the future, we need to do this. You need to give us 4 dates to choose from.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Right. This is too open-ended.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, good point. For the first time, though.
Yeah.
Prices, well, actually, I don't know if you could go Prices Right rules for the winner here. The winner, I guess, is Dave. He's the closest. This was printed in July 1995.
Oh.
So the lesson here, everybody, is the more things change, the more they stay the same.
No kidding. Oh my gosh!
I went searching for this, and that was just too. I mean, no offense to Meryl, this is there's a million of these stories, but like, wow, like just the verbiage even was like, this is something you could really read. Very modern,
right? Cutting the SKUs down 50%. It's like,
focus on specialty retail.
Specialty retail. That's hilarious.
No, I think this just like you said highlights the universality of this issue. So anyway, go ahead, Colin.
What's that?
That's it? Just
That's
once?
it. That's all I got. That's the parting shot.
I thought we had more.
No. I just pulled one out for last minute.
Well, I like this
we'll bring
section.
this back. Yeah, that was fun. We should do that again.
This is good.
This is
okay.
All right, we'll do that again. Any parting shots from you guys? Or are you guys good today?
I'm good. I need to go and take a nap.
You gotta finish your deck is what you need to do.
I'm so close. So close.
All right, that's the show. We want your emails, everybody. Send them to myrockfight@gmail.com. The Rockfight's a production of Rockfight LLC. Today's episode was produced by producer David Karstad. Art direction provided by that Sarah Gensert. For Eoin Comerford, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. And Krista Makes Us Here is going to sing the Rockfight fight song.
Colin, before Krista takes us out.
Yeah.
Write your congressperson. Email, call. Do it now.
And then do it again.
Yep. Why would they do that for? What's the reason?
Because our public lands are on the verge of being obliterated.
That'll work.
To an extent that we have never seen before.
Never seen. Right. Yeah, being sold out from under us, like millions and millions of acres. Just sold to pay for tax cuts.
Things you never thought could ever be touched are on the table.
Yeah. So, okay. Thank you.
And especially if you are in a Western state. Yes. You please.
Utah, Nevada, Montana, Idaho, please. And if you're in other states, call the people in those states.
If you've got friends in those states, make sure that they're calling. Yes.
Spend the weekend calling is what we're saying.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
All right, here's the Rock Fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.